The slap echoed through first class like a gunshot, a white hand striking dark skin at 30,000 feet. Dr. Keisha Washington touched her burning cheek, the diamond watch on her wrist catching the cabin lights as passengers froze in their seats. "Don't try to scam your way up here, honey," the flight attendant sneered, towering over the elegant black woman in 2A. But Kesha's smile wasn't submission. It was the kind of smile that meant someone had just made a $3 billion mistake. Around them, phones emerged from pockets like weapons, ready to capture what would become the most expensive assault in aviation history. As the woman who'd been slapped calmly typed something on her cracked phone, airline stocks began plummeting for reasons no one on board could yet understand. 30 minutes earlier, Amelia had glided through the jet bridge, her movements unhurried despite the boarding chaos. She traveled alone, unusual for someone of her stature, but necessary. The acquisition paperwork in her briefcase could reshape the aviation industry, though no one watching her board Flight 447 to Chicago would guess it. "Welcome aboard," a junior flight attendant had chirped, barely glancing at Amelia's first-class ticket. Behind her, coach passengers struggled with overhead bins, their frustration palpable. The divide between the curtained sanctuary of first class and the cramped reality beyond had never seemed starker. Amelia found her seat and immediately noticed the tension. Victoria Matthews stood near the galley, her weathered hands gripping a passenger manifest. Red pen marks littered the margin's private notations that weren't supposed to exist. "She's in 2A. Victoria whispered to the head purser, not bothering to lower her voice enough. "That can't be right." The elderly woman across the aisle, Eleanor, shifted uncomfortably. She'd seen this dance before, 1961, Freedom Rides, same song, different venue. Her weathered hands tightened on her pearls as she watched Victoria approach Amelia's seat for the third time in 5 minutes. "May I see your boarding pass again?" Victoria's tone suggested this wasn't a request. Amelia produced it without comment, though her fingers flew across her phone screen. "Marcus, stand by for contingency protocol." She didn't hit send. "Not yet. This has to be a system error," Victoria muttered, examining the boarding pass like a counterfeit bill. "First class is for our premium passengers." "I am a premium passenger," Amelia replied evenly. "Our usual premium passengers," Victoria clarified, her emphasis sharp enough to draw blood. Jay, the programmer in 3B, already had his phone recording. His social media followers would eat this up-corporate discrimination in real time, the internet's favorite meal. He zoomed in on Victoria's face, catching the micro-expressions of disdain that corporate training should have erased years ago. The businessman in 2B, Richard, pretended to read his Wall Street Journal, but his eyes tracked the confrontation. His laptop showed airline stocks unstable, ready for major changes. He didn't yet know he was watching that change incarnate. "I've been flying for 15 years, Victoria announced to no one in particular, though her voice carried through the cabin. "I know when someone doesn't belong." Other crew members exchanged glances. 2 junior attendants looked uncomfortable, while the senior purser seemed torn between protocol and loyalty to his colleague. The captain's door remained closed, plausible deniability in aluminum form. Amelia's phone buzzed. "Marcus again. Board meeting in 20. Need confirmation." She typed back, proceeding with due diligence. Then returned her attention to Victoria, who now held a laminated card. "These are our service standards," Victoria said, pointing to fine print about maintaining cabin atmosphere and crew discretion. The words had been weaponized before, would be again, unless someone stopped it. "I'm familiar with discrimination packaged as policy," Amelia responded quietly. Eleanor stood up slightly, her voice carrying 60 years of exhaustion. "Young lady, just let the woman sit." We all paid for our tickets. Victoria wheeled on her. "Ma'am, please remain seated." "This doesn't concern you." Injustice concerns everyone, Eleanor shot back. The cabin temperature seemed to drop. Passengers throughout first class were now openly watching, their pretense of indifference abandoned. In coach, necks craned to see through the curtain gap. Victoria's hand moved to a hipper power pose taught in crew authority training, bastardized into intimidation. I'm going to need you to gather your things. We can reseat you in economy where you'll be more comfortable. Amelia didn't move. No. The single word landed like a judge's gavel. Excuse me? I said no. I'm staying in the seat I purchased. Victoria's face flushed red, her training finally cracking like ice under pressure. She snatched the boarding pass from Amelia's hand, crumpling it slightly. This has to be fake. People like you always try to take what isn't yours. The accusation hung in recycled air, witnessed by 40 eyes and 20 cameras. Something in Victoria's posture shifted decision, crystallizing into action. Victoria's hand moved before anyone could react. Not the measured movements of a professional flight attendant, but the explosive gesture of someone who'd forgotten every camera, every witness, every consequence. The slap connected with devastating precision. The sound cracked through first class like a gunshot, followed by a collective gasp that seemed to suck oxygen from the cabin. Amelia's head snapped to the right, her carefully styled hair whipping across her face. Her diamond phone case clattered to the floor, the sound somehow louder than it should be in the shocked silence. For 3 seconds, nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then chaos erupted. "Oh my God!" Jay's voice cracked as his phone captured everything in crystal clear quality. "She actually hit her! This is insane!" His hands shook but kept recording, years of internet instincts overriding shock. The view counter on his live stream jumped from dozens to hundreds to thousands in seconds. Eleanor shot to her feet, her elderly frame trembling with rage. "You put your hands on that woman." "I saw it. We all saw it." Her voice carried the authority of someone who'd stood up to Bull Connor's police dogs and lived to tell about it. Richard dropped his Wall Street Journal, his mouth agape. That's assault. Federal crime at 30,000 feet. His fingers immediately moved to his phone, typing furiously to his corporate legal team. The red handprint bloomed across Amelia's dark skin like a brand, visible even from the back rows of first class. She touched her cheek gently, feeling the heat, the sting, the weight of what had just happened. But instead of tears, instead of rage, instead of the reaction Victoria clearly expected, Amelia smiled. It wasn't a smile of submission or shock. It was the smile of someone who'd just been handed exactly what they needed. "You people always want what you haven't earned." Victoria's voice cracked, doubling down in the way people do when they know they've crossed an irreversible line. "Coming in here, demanding respect, thinking money can buy you class. Stop talking!" The head purser, Michael, finally emerged from his paralysis, his face white. "Victoria, stop talking right now." But Victoria was beyond stopping. Adrenaline and 15 years of carefully suppressed prejudice erupting like a broken dam. "I don't care who sees. Someone needs to say what we're all thinking. These people dash. These people?" Eleanor's voice boomed with surprising power. "Child, you just ended your career for these people." Jay's commentary streamed live to his followers. "Y'all seeing this?" Flight attendant just assaulted a black woman in first class. "This is going viral. Oh my God, she's still going." Through the cockpit door, muffled voices rose in alarm. The co-pilot's face appeared briefly in the door window, his expression shifting from confusion to horror as he took in the scene. Other passengers throughout first class had their phones raised, creating a modern tribunal of digital witnesses. The woman in 4A was already on the phone with CNN. The couple in 5B were posting to Instagram. The businessman in 3A was calling his lawyer, offering to be a witness. Amelia's phone, still on the floor, buzzed insistently. The screen, cracked but functional, showed 17 missed calls from Marcus. The latest text read, "Bored asking why you're not responding. Is contingency necessary?" Victoria seemed to finally grasp what she'd done. Her hand, the one that had delivered the slap, trembled as she brought it to her mouth. She provoked me. You all saw it. She was being difficult, Dash." "She was sitting in a seat," Richard said quietly, his privilege finally serving justice. "I watched the whole thing. She did nothing but exist while black." The words landed like another slap. Amelia finally moved, bending gracefully to retrieve her phone, despite the throbbing in her cheek. She looked at the screen, at Marcus's messages, at the board meeting she was missing, at the acquisition that would now take a very different form. "Ugh, holy shit," Jay whispered, his camera catching her next action. "She's making a call. Guys, she's actually smiling. Who smiles after being hit?" Amelia raised the phone to her ear, her voice calm and clear enough for everyone to hear. "Marcus, begin the acquisition. Yes, the hostile one. Full contingency." She ended the call and looked directly at Victoria, whose face had gone from red to white. "You have no idea what you've just started." The cabin air shifted like a tide turning. Phones buzzed in synchronized chaos, not just passengers recording, but something bigger. Richard's laptop showed red arrows pointing down next to the airline's stock symbol. "What the hell?" He turned his screen toward Jay. "Someone's buying massive amounts of shares. The airline's stock just dropped 12% in 30 seconds. Victoria stood frozen, her hand still trembling, but she noticed the head purser's phone ringing insistently. Then the senior flight attendants. Then the junior crew members. All at once, like dominoes falling in reverse order of seniority. Amelia had returned to her seat, calm as morning water, typing on her phone with the efficiency of someone conducting a symphony. The red mark on her cheek had darkened, but she wore it like a badge of honor. Her fingers flew across the screen. Phase 2. Initiate media protocol. Eleanor leaned across the aisle, her voice low but urgent. "Child, what are you doing? What should have been done years ago?" Amelia replied, not looking up. The cockpit door opened fully for the first time since boarding. Captain Morrison emerged, his face pale beneath his silver hair. His eyes found Victoria first, then Amelia, then the sea of recording phones. His co-pilot whispered urgently in his ear, showing him something on an iPad. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain's voice cracked over the intercom. "We're going to need everyone to remain seated. We're making an unscheduled landing in Detroit." "Why?" a passenger called out. "Is something wrong with the plane?" The captain's pause spoke volumes. "We've been instructed by corporate to land immediately." Jay's live stream exploded with comments. "Corporate damage control," one viewer typed. "They know something," added another. His follower count had jumped from 50,000 to 200,000 and climbing. Richard pulled up news on his phone, his businessman instincts screaming. "Skyline Holdings," he muttered, reading the news alert. "They're buying the airline. Oh my God!" His eyes snapped to Amelia. "You're with Skyline?" Amelia didn't respond, but her slight smile was answer enough. Victoria's supervisor, Michael, approached her with his phone extended, his face grave. "Corporate wants to speak with you. Now." I was just..." Victoria's voice had lost all its earlier authority. "Now, Victoria." As Victoria took the phone with shaking hands, other crew members began whispering among themselves. The junior flight attendant, Sarah, who'd watched the whole thing in silent horror, finally spoke. "I've seen her do this before. 3 times this month. Different passengers, same story." "Sarah!" Michael hissed. "No," Sarah continued, emboldened by the cameras, by the moment by Amelia's strange calm. "I'm done being quiet." She made that elderly black gentleman move last week, said his cologne was too strong for first class. The week before, it was a black teenager. Said his music was inappropriate, even though he was wearing headphones. The passengers were listening now, their phones capturing this unexpected testimony. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears of vindication. I knew it. Lord, I knew it wasn't just today. The businessman in 3A called out, I'm a platinum member. Fly this route twice a month. She's always been particular about who sits where. Amelia's phone rang. She answered on speaker deliberately. Miss Richardson. Marcus's voice filled the cabin. The board has approved the emergency acquisition. 51% ownership will be transferred in approximately 10 minutes. The Department of Justice has also been notified per your instructions. Department of Justice? Someone gasped. Thank you, Marcus. Amelia said calmly. Please ensure the transition team is ready when we land. She ended the call and looked directly at Victoria, who had gone white as paper. The captain's voice returned, shakier now. Cabin crew, prepare for landing. And Victoria Matthews, please report to the cockpit. Victoria didn't move, couldn't move, her 15-year career evaporating in real time. She owns the airline. Richard whispered, staring at his screen. Amelia Richardson. She's about to own the whole damn airline. The cabin transformed into a war room of breaking news. Every seatback screen switched from movies to CNN, where a blazing, breaking news banner dominated. Assault at 30,000 feet, billionaire CEO, attacked on commercial flight. This is Anderson Cooper. The familiar voice filled the cabin. We're following an extraordinary story developing in real time. Amelia Richardson, CEO of Skyline Holdings, and one of America's few black billionaires, was physically assaulted by a flight attendant on Flight 447. The incident was captured on multiple phones and is now viral with over 10 million views. Victoria's legs gave out. She collapsed into an empty seat, her badge 15 years of excellence catching the light like a broken promise. That's impossible, she whispered. She can't be. Jay's phone hadn't stopped recording. His follower count hit 500,000. Comments flooded in faster than he could read. Destroy her! Sue them into bankruptcy! This is America in one video! The CNN report continued. Anderson's voice grave. Ms. Richardson, worth an estimated $3.8 billion, was apparently traveling undercover to evaluate the airline before a planned acquisition. Sources tell us that acquisition has now become hostile. A photo filled the screen Amelia on the cover of Forbes, poised and powerful under the headline, The Quiet Revolutionary, How Amelia Richardson is Reshaping American Business. I didn't know! Victoria sobbed. How could I know? She didn't look like Dash Dash. Like what? Eleanor's voice cut like a scalpel. Like she deserved respect? Like she belonged? You didn't need to know who she was. You needed to know she was human. Richard's phone rang as CEO, he answered, and everyone could hear the panic. Richardson's about to own that airline. Get me a meeting with her, now! We need damage control before she comes after us next. The captain emerged again, sweat beading his forehead. Miss Matthews, corporate insists dash dash. Corporate can wait. Amelia stood, her presence filling the cabin despite her soft voice. I'd like to address everyone here. She walked to the center of first class, the red mark on her cheek visible to all, wearing it like evidence in a trial that had already been decided. Every person on this plane has witnessed something that happens every day in smaller ways. She began, her voice carrying natural authority. The difference is today it was caught on camera. Today there are consequences. More phones appeared, everyone wanting to capture this moment. 15 minutes ago I completed the purchase of controlling interest in this airline. Amelia continued. The collective gasp was audible. Not because I was slapped, but because this slap represents a systemic failure that stops today. On the screens, CNN had pulled up a live feed showing the airline's value dropping by the minute. Other airlines were falling too, investors panicking about industry-wide implications. The Department of Justice will be meeting us when we land. Amelia announced. Not just about today's assault, but about a pattern of discrimination that's been documented, reported, and ignored. Sarah, the junior flight attendant, stepped forward. I have records. 3 years of complaints that were buried. Passengers moved, upgrades denied, always the same pattern. You're fired too! Victoria screamed at her colleague, hysteria taking over. You signed confidentiality agreements. You can't dash. Those agreements don't apply when covering up federal crimes, Amelia said quietly. My legal team made sure of that 12 minutes ago. Jay's stream showed the comment count. 1.2 million watching live. The story had already hit the front page of every major news site. Billionaire plays chess, buys airline after being slapped. The businessman in 5B stood up. I'm a civil rights attorney. I'm offering my services free of charge to any passenger who's experienced discrimination on this airline. I'm in, Eleanor said immediately. 60 years of this nonsense is enough. A woman in coach called out through the curtain. Is that why they made me check my hair? Said my braids were too elaborate for first class? And my son, another voice, said his scholarship letter wasn't sufficient proof for an upgrade. The dam had broken. Stories poured out like water through a breached levee. Amelia's phone buzzed. She looked at it, then at the cameras, ensuring everyone could see her next words. The board just confirmed. Every executive who ignored these complaints is terminated, effective immediately. Victoria was sobbing now, ugly tears that smeared her makeup. I was just doing my job. I was trained to maintain standards --. You were trained to discriminate. Amelia corrected. And whoever trained you is fired too. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. Detroit approach. This is Flight 447. We have a situation requiring federal intervention, requesting priority landing and law enforcement. Through the windows, passengers could see news vans already gathering at Detroit Metro Airport. The story had gone global, BBC, Al Jazeera, NHK, all running the video of the slap heard round the world. Richard's phone showed something extraordinary. Skyline Holdings stock up 15%. The market loved swift justice. You ruined me, Victoria whispered, looking at Amelia with tear-filled eyes. You've destroyed my life. No, Amelia replied, her voice carrying infinite exhaustion. You revealed yourself. I just made sure everyone saw it. Eleanor reached across the aisle, taking Amelia's hand. Baby girl, your daddy would be proud. Amelia's composure finally cracked slightly. You knew my father. Knew of him? Herbert Richardson. Died when that hospital in Alabama wouldn't admit him to their cardiac unit. Wrong wing of the hospital, they said. The cabin fell silent except for the sound of phone cameras capturing this moment. That's why you do this, Eleanor continued. Not for revenge, for change. Amelia nodded, wiping a single tear. Then she straightened, the CEO returning. When we land, everyone in first class will give statements. Everyone in coach who's experienced discrimination will be upgraded for life. And Victoria. She turned to the broken flight attendant. You're going to help fix what you helped break. What? Multiple voices exclaimed at once. The plane began its descent, and with it, an entire industry began to fall. The plane touched down like a verdict being delivered. Through the windows, passengers could see an unprecedented scene. FBI vehicles, news helicopters, and a phalanx of lawyers in expensive suits waiting on the tarmac. Amelia's phone screen lit up with an incoming video call. She accepted it, holding it up so nearby passengers could see. The boardroom of the airline appeared. 12 executives sitting around a polished table, all looking like they'd aged years in the past hour. Miss Richardson, the former CEO began, his voice defeated. The transfer is complete. You now own 51% of 57%. Marcus corrected from off-screen. Several major investors just sided with us. Amelia nodded. Gentlemen, ladies, you're all terminated. Security is already at your offices. Please don't make this harder than necessary. Jay caught it all, his commentary barely keeping up. "She's firing them live, on the plane!" "This is insane. She's cleaning house in real time." Richard had pulled up Amelia's full biography on his laptop, reading aloud to nearby passengers. Started with a $100,000 insurance settlement from her father's death. Built it into a logistics empire. Bought 17 companies, all had discrimination lawsuits. She's been planning this for years. "Show them the authentication," Amelia said to Marcus. The screen shifted to corporate documents, official seals, authentication codes that meant nothing to most passengers, but everything to those who understood power. The captain, watching from the cockpit door, saw his airline's logo being replaced with Skyline Holdings in real time. "That's my signature," he whispered. "On her employment verification. I signed off on my own boss." Eleanor laughed, a rich sound that filled the cabin. "Child, you bought yourself a plane just to prove a point." "I bought an airline to change an industry," Amelia corrected. Then, louder, addressing everyone. "Skyline Holdings has acquired 3 airlines in the past 5 years. Each one had what corporate calls cultural issues, what humans call racism." She pulled up an app on her phone, showing it to the cameras. "This is our passenger equity tracker. It monitors every upgrade denial, every seat reassignment, every random security check. Patterns emerge. Bias becomes visible." Sarah, the whistle-blowing flight attendant, gasped. "You've been tracking us?" "We've been tracking injustice," Amelia clarified. "Your name appears 17 times, Sarah. Every time you reported Victoria's behavior. Every time management ignored you." She swiped to another screen. "Michael, head purser, you reported it 6 times before giving up. Captain Morrison, you filed 1 complaint 3 years ago, then never again." "Why?" The captain's voice was barely audible. "They said I was being oversensitive. That Victoria was one of our best dash. Best at what?" Amelia interrupted. "She has the lowest customer satisfaction scores in first class, the highest complaint rate, but also the most commendations from a specific type of passenger. Should I read the demographics?" Victoria, who had been silent, suddenly erupted. "You set me up! You came on this plane to trap me!" "No." Amelia's voice was ice. "I came on this plane to finalize a standard acquisition. You escalated it into something else. You made it personal. So now it's personal." Through the windows, FBI agents were approaching the plane. The lead agent's badge was visible even from inside. "The Department of Justice has been investigating this airline for 2 years," Amelia announced. "I've been providing them data. Today's incident just made their case federal." The businessman in 3A stood up slowly. "I need to make a confession. I've flown this route 50 times. I've seen Victoria move black passengers at least 12 times. I never said anything. I'm complicit." "We all are," the woman in 4B added. "We all saw it and stayed quiet." Amelia's phone buzzed with an alert. She looked at it, then at Victoria. "Your personnel file just arrived. Would you like me to read your previous complaints aloud? The ones from Delta, United, the ones that got you quietly transferred here?" Victoria's face went grey. "You can't—" "I own the airline. I can do whatever I want." Amelia paused. "But I won't. Because unlike you, I don't humiliate people for sport." The FBI agents had reached the door. The lead agent's voice came over the radio. "This is Agent Thompson. We're ready to board." Amelia stood, straightening her jacket, the red mark on her cheek now a deep purple that no makeup could hide. "When they come in, tell the truth. All of it. Because tomorrow, everything changes." The door opened with a hiss, and Justice walked in wearing federal badges. Agent Thompson entered first, his presence immediately shifting the cabin's energy from chaos to procedure. Behind him, 3 other agents spread out, their movements practiced and efficient. The lead agent's eyes found Amelia immediately, recognition flickering across his face. "Miss Richardson, we've been expecting your call for 2 years." He turned to the cabin. "I'm going to need everyone to remain seated." This is now a federal investigation. Amelia walked to the front of first class, standing where everyone could see her. The purple bruise on her cheek caught the light evidence that would appear in court documents, news articles, and training materials for years to come. "Before we proceed," she announced, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd rehearsed this moment in dreams, "I want everyone to understand what happens next." She pulled out her phone, projecting confidence with every movement. "Marcus, initiate the broadcast." Suddenly, her image appeared on every seat-back screen. Not the news, but a direct feed. She was broadcasting live to the entire fleet, every plane in the air, every gate, every corporate office. "My name is Amelia Richardson. As of 40 minutes ago, I own this airline. As of right now, everything changes. Across the plane, phones pinged with notifications. Jay's live stream showed the numbers. 2.3 million watching. The story had transcended news. It was history happening in real time. "Victoria Matthews." Amelia turned to face her attacker. "Please, stand up." Victoria remained frozen until Agent Thompson nodded. She rose on shaking legs, her uniform wrinkled, her authority evaporated. "You slapped me because you believed I didn't belong in first class. You've moved, humiliated, and degraded passengers for 15 years based on the color of their skin. Today, that ends." "I want a lawyer," Victoria whispered. "You'll have one," Agent Thompson confirmed. "You're being detained for federal assault charges. But first, Miss, Richardson has something to say." Amelia stepped closer, close enough that Victoria could see her own reflection in Amelia's eyes. "You asked earlier how you could have known who I was. The answer is, it shouldn't matter. The janitor deserves the same respect as the CEO. The student deserves the same dignity as the senator." Eleanor stood up, her voice strong. "Tell them about your father, child. Tell them why this matters." Amelia's composure wavered for just a moment. "My father died because someone like you decided he didn't belong. A hospital. First-class medical care. He was having a heart attack, but they sent him to the appropriate wing. By the time they admitted their mistake, it was too late." Gasps rippled through the cabin. Even Victoria's eyes widened. "I don't buy companies for revenge," Amelia continued, addressing everyone now. "I buy them for reform. Every airline Skyline Holdings has acquired had the same disease, systemic discrimination, dressed up as standards and discretion." She turned to the screens, knowing she was addressing thousands of employees across the network. "Effective immediately. Any employee who discriminates against a passenger based on race, religion, gender, or any protected class will be terminated. No warnings, no transfers, no second chances." "You can't!" Victoria burst out. "The union—" "The union has already agreed," Amelia interrupted. "They've been waiting for someone with the power to clean house." "Congratulations, Victoria. You're going to be their test case." Agent Thompson stepped forward. "Miss Matthews, you have the right to remain silent." "Wait." Amelia raised her hand. "She needs to hear this first." She addressed Victoria directly, but her words carried to everyone. "You're not being arrested just for slapping me. You're being arrested for violating federal civil rights laws. Every passenger you've discriminated against is a potential witness. Every complaint that was buried is now evidence." Richard stood up, his privilege finally serving purpose. "I'll testify. I saw it all and said nothing. That makes me complicit, and I'll own that in court." "I'll testify too," Sarah added, tears streaming. "I have 3 years of documentation." One by one, passengers stood. Not in applause, but in witness. Each rise a testament, each stance an indictment. "But here's what you don't expect," Amelia said, her voice softening slightly. "You're not going to prison, Victoria. You're going to do something much harder." Everyone leaned in, confused. "After you serve your federal sentence, probably probation and fines, you're going to work for me. Not as a flight attendant, as a student. You're going to spend 6 months learning from the people you've hurt. You're going to face them every day. And if they vote to forgive you, only if they vote, you'll help me teach others why discrimination destroys companies." "That's insane!" someone called out. "That's justice," Eleanor corrected. "Not punishment. Transformation." Victoria collapsed back into her seat, sobbing. "Why would you do that?" "Because destroying you changes nothing. Transforming you changes everything." Agent Thompson nodded to his team. They approached Victoria with handcuffs, the metal clicking like a period at the end of a very long sentence. But Amelia wasn't done. She had one more card to play. "Before you take her," Amelia addressed Agent Thompson, "there's something else everyone needs to see." She turned to the screens where Marcus appeared, standing in the airline's headquarters. Behind him, security officers were escorting executives from their offices, boxes in hand. "The cleanup has begun," Marcus announced. 17 executives terminated for covering up discrimination complaints. 43 middle managers under investigation. Every single person who signed off on burying reports is gone. The cabin erupted in whispers. This wasn't just about one slap anymore. It was a complete corporate revolution. "But firing people isn't enough," Amelia continued, commanding attention. "Sarah, please come forward." The junior flight attendant approached nervously, her hands trembling. "You tried to report Victoria 17 times. Each time you were threatened, ignored, or told you were being difficult. Today, you're promoted to head of crew ethics, reporting directly to me. Your first job? Review every complaint from the last decade." Sarah's legs nearly gave out. I don't have the seniority dash. Seniority protected criminals. We're done with that system." Amelia turned to the captain. "Captain Morrison, you have a choice. Retire with your pension intact, or stay and help rebuild. If you stay, you'll report to Sarah." The reversal was complete. The whistleblower now outranked the captain who'd stayed silent. "This is insane," Victoria muttered through her tears. "You're destroying everything." "No," Eleanor said firmly. "She's fixing what you broke." Amelia pulled up another screen on her phone, showing a live feed of training centers across the country. Every employee, from baggage handlers to board members, will undergo new training. Not the corporate diversity theater you're used to. Real education, led by the communities you've hurt. She looked directly at Victoria. "You'll be in the first class, ironic, isn't it? 6 months of facing the people you discriminated against. They'll teach you their histories, their struggles, their humanity. And every single day, you'll clean the aircraft bathrooms during breaks." "That's humiliating!" "That's humility. Something you should have learned 15 years ago." Jay's stream showed comments flooding in, most supportive, some skeptical, all engaged. The world was watching accountability happen in real time. "Now for the passengers," Amelia announced. "Everyone on this flight who experienced discrimination gets lifetime first-class upgrades, not as compensation, as recognition that you always belonged there." A cheer erupted from coach. The curtain between cabins, that fabric metaphor for division, was ceremoniously torn down by Sarah and another crew member. "Additionally," Amelia continued, "we're establishing a passenger advocate on every flight. Someone whose only job is to ensure equality. They'll have direct access to me, personally." Agent Thompson, who'd been watching with growing respect, finally spoke. "Ms. Paul Richardson, we need to process Ms. Matthews." "One more thing," Amelia said. She faced Victoria directly. "Your training won't be private. It'll be filmed, studied, and used to teach others. Your journey from bigot to ally, if you make it, will be mandatory viewing for the industry." "You're using me," Victoria accused. "I'm giving you a chance to matter," Amelia corrected. "Your discrimination hurt hundreds. Your transformation could help thousands." The agents moved forward, cuffs ready. But Victoria had one last moment of defiance. "What if I refuse? What if I won't do your program?" Then you serve your federal sentence and never work in aviation again. You'll be the woman who slapped a billionaire and lost everything. Or you can be the woman who faced her prejudice and changed. Your choice. The cuffs clicked around Victoria's wrists, the sound carrying through the silent cabin. Michael, the head purser who'd failed to act, stepped forward. What about the rest of us? Those who saw but stayed quiet. Complicity training, Amelia announced. Every employee who witnessed discrimination and said nothing will take a course called The Cost of Silence, led by survivors of systemic racism. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it and smiled, the first genuine smile since the slap. Congress just called an emergency hearing on airline discrimination. I'll be testifying next week, with video evidence. She glanced at Jay. Thank you for your service to justice. Jay nearly dropped his phone. His follower count had passed 3 million. As the agents led Victoria towards the door, she turned back one last time. I'm sorry, she whispered, the words seeming to surprise her. Apologize to them. Amelia pointed to the other passengers. I'm not the only one you hurt. Victoria looked at Helena, at the black mother in coach, at the young black professional in 3C. I'm sorry, she repeated, louder this time. We'll see if you mean it, Eleanor replied. 6 months from now, we'll see. The door closed behind Victoria and the agents. The plane fell silent except for the sound of phones capturing history. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Morrison announced, his voice heavy with the weight of change, we'll be disembarking shortly. Welcome to the new era of aviation. But Amelia wasn't done. She had one more announcement. As passengers began gathering their belongings, something unexpected happened. The elderly woman in 4B reached across the aisle to help the young black mother with her bags, the same mother Victoria had glared at during boarding. Let me get that for you, sweetheart, she said softly. We should have been doing this all along. The moment rippled through the cabin. Richard helped Jay secure his camera equipment. Sarah began personally apologizing to each passenger Victoria had wronged, not because she had to, but because she needed to. Amelia watched it all, finally allowing exhaustion to show. Eleanor noticed and patted the seat beside her. Sit down, child. You've done enough standing for one day. As Amelia sat, a small voice piped up from coach now merged with first class, the curtain gone forever. Sophie, a 7-year-old girl with bright eyes and twisted braids, approached slowly, her mother trying to hold her back. It's okay, Amelia said gently. Hi there. Are you really a superhero? Sophie asked, her voice filled with wonder. Mama says you fought the bad lady and won. Amelia knelt down to Sophie's level, her designer suit creasing, not caring. No cape needed, sweetheart. Just courage. You have that same power inside you. But I'm just a kid. I was just a kid once too. My daddy told me something before he died. Baby girl, never let anyone make you feel like you don't belong. You belong anywhere you choose to stand. Sophie reached out and gently touched the bruise on Amelia's cheek. Does it hurt? Not anymore, Amelia said truthfully. Because look what it started. She gestured to the cabin, where former strangers were exchanging contact information, making plans to testify together, building community from conflict. Captain Morrison approached, his hat in hand, literally and figuratively. Miss Richardson, I need to say something. I've been flying for 30 years. I've seen discrimination countless times, and said nothing because I told myself it wasn't my place. I was wrong. We all were, Michael added, joining them. I supervised Victoria for 5 years. Every time Sarah reported her, I chose the easy path. I protected the status quo instead of the passengers. Then change, Amelia said simply. That's all I ask. Change and help others change. Jay lowered his phone for the first time in hours, ending his live stream. Miss Richardson, this video has 30 million views. You've changed everything. What you did today What we did, Amelia corrected. You recorded it. Eleanor stood up. Sarah spoke truth. Even Richard finally said something. Change doesn't happen because of one person. It happens when enough people say, enough. The young black professional from 3C, who'd been silent throughout everything, finally spoke. I fly this route every week for work. Every week I shrink myself, make myself smaller, less threatening. Today's the first time I've felt like I could breathe on a plane. Then breathe, Eleanor said firmly. Take up your space. It's yours. Sarah pulled out her tablet, already working. I'm creating an anonymous reporting system. Any passenger, any crew member can report a discrimination in real time. It comes directly to the ethics team, my team now. I'll help build it, Jay offered. I know developers who'd work on this for free. I'll fund it. Richard added quietly. It's the least I can do after years of silence. Amelia's phone buzzed. She looked at it and laughed, a real laugh that transformed her face. Marcus says the airline's website crashed. 3 million people trying to book flights with us. Apparently taking a stand is good for business. Who knew treating people with dignity would be profitable? Eleanor said dryly, causing everyone to laugh. As they prepared to disembark, Sophie tugged on Amelia's sleeve. Miss Amelia, can I have your autograph? Amelia knelt back down. How about something better? She unpinned the small Skyline Holdings badge from her jacket, a silver wing with a diamond center. This was my father's. He wore it when he started his first business. Now it's yours. Sophie's mother started to protest. We couldn't possibly— Please, Amelia said. Let her remember that she witnessed change today. Let her remember she has the power to create it tomorrow. As passengers finally began leaving, each person stopped to look at where Victoria had sat. The seat was empty now, but her badge lay forgotten on the cushion 15 years of excellence, abandoned. Sarah picked it up, looked at it thoughtfully, then dropped it in the trash. Time for new standards. The plane emptied slowly, each passenger carrying something more than their luggage. They carried a story, a purpose, a piece of history. Tomorrow would be different, because today, finally, someone had said, enough. 6 months later, the video played on the conference room screen Victoria Matthews, in a simple uniform, standing before a room of airline employees. Her face showed the wear of 6 months of hard truth, but her eyes held something new, understanding. I slapped a woman because of her skin color. Victoria said clearly into the camera. I disguised my racism as professional standards. I was wrong. I was cruel, and I'm sorry. The room was silent. In the back row, Eleanor sat watching, arms crossed. Beside her, Sarah held an evaluation tablet. Amelia stood by the door, observing. Tomorrow, the passengers I hurt will vote on whether I've earned the right to teach others about discrimination. Victoria continued. Whatever they decide, I'm grateful for the chance to face my prejudice. The video ended. Amelia stepped forward. The vote was unanimous, she announced. Not for forgiveness that's earned over a lifetime, but for allowing Victoria to begin making amends. She starts tomorrow, teaching other reforming employees what prejudice costs. CNN played on another screen, Anderson Cooper reporting. In the 6 months since the slap heard round the world, 17 airlines have reformed their discrimination policies. Federal legislation, dubbed Amelia's Law, now mandates equality training and passenger advocates on all commercial flights. The scene shifted to show long lines at airports, but these were different. Diverse crews helped diverse passengers. The old arbitrary divisions had crumbled. Jay appeared on screen, now with 5 million followers. That day changed my life. I went from recording injustice to preventing it. Our app, Fly Equal, has logged and resolved 3,000 discrimination complaints. Real change, measured and verified. Amelia turned to the camera, addressing the audience directly. Everyday discrimination happens in spaces we consider safe: schools, hospitals, workplaces, airplanes. Most of it goes unrecorded, unreported, unaddressed. But you have power. Your phone is a tool. Your voice is a weapon. Your witness matters. The screen showed a website, skylinejustice.org. If you've experienced discrimination while traveling or anywhere, document it. Report it. We provide free legal resources, advocacy, and support. Because change doesn't happen at 30,000 feet. It happens when we land and take action. Sophie appeared in the final frame, wearing the silver wing pin, standing tall in her school, confronting a bully who was mocking another student's accent. "I belong anywhere I choose to stand," she said firmly, her 7-year-old voice carrying the weight of history. "And so does she."